Hello guys, what is up? It is Nice to Shortcut. If you do not know me, welcome back. Today we are going to be doing part 2 to my Christmas series, which is a 2-star parter. I'm making these stars. Hi. I'm just here to say that this video was supposed to come out in December, and obviously it's February now, and I don't really have an excuse. I messed up, I didn't finish editing in time, and I forgot to upload it after that. So here I am in February, hoping that since it's still February, it still is considered the winter season, not Christmas season, I'm well aware. So I apologize for the late upload, but it's here now, so enjoy it. I apologize again. I'm gonna give over to past me to finish that off, so bye. And they are inspired by traditional Ukrainian Christmas stars. I have wanted to do this project for a couple of years now, but timings never work out. This year, I planned early. I started this project all the way in June, and you're gonna see the entire process. Unlike the first star, which was painted, this star is gonna be a little more difficult to make because I decided I wanted to make a glowing star. Now, it wasn't planned per se, it was an idea that was in the back of my head. It just originally started with the fact that I did need to go use the laser cutter and I didn't want to waste the time that I booked it in for. So I was like, why not just make an extra thing for fun so that I have more stuff to work with? And to be honest, it turned out to be my favorite star out of the two. Don't tell the first star that that's the case. But this one was a little more complicated. It gave me a lot more headache, and I really do hope that you enjoy the process and how this goes, because it is so much bootleg and testing, trial and error. So just stick with me. I promise you that the outcome is great. I know you haven't seen anything yet, but do like and subscribe, leave a comment, click the notification bell so you know when I post another video. I do a lot of interesting things on this channel, a lot of variety. So if you like seeing a lot of different things, do stick around. So let's just actually get going with the video. So this is how you're gonna see me for the rest of the video. Now let's get started. I'm starting off by working in Illustrator and making my pattern. I just got a pattern that I liked, that I thought suited the project, and then I just went ham and made it on Illustrator. I edited it just to make sure that all of it is connected so that when I print it out on the laser cutter, none of it falls off, because I need it to be a connected net. Then I went to my laser cutter, booked my spot because I don't own one, sadly. I wish I did, but this spot gives me some good rates, and I ended up laser cutting my pieces. I did some tester pieces first just to make sure that everything worked. Well, I had the same problem back in university. Laser cutters hate me. Okay, so this machine decided to die on me. That was fun. So as you can see, this error popped up on the screen, and I didn't know what to do. I booked for a whole day and it broke within like 20 minutes of me working there. So that was fun. So I'm finally back from my trip again, and I'm gonna restart my very early Christmas project with the laser cutter. I'm gonna be laser cutting today because I managed to rebook my session, because we saw how that went the last time. I mean, I only finished before yesterday my trip and holiday, and I've booked it in for today, which is only 2 days apart. And I was like, oh my god, I don't even know if I have any materials to do this. This is why I keep a stash from every single project, no matter how crap the pieces may seem, because these pieces, I was like, what the hell am I ever gonna do with these? Turns out that I have just enough scraps to perfectly do this project. So guys, always keep your scraps because they come so in handy. I don't have to buy any new material for this project. I'm literally just paying for the laser cutter. Amazing. And here I am back at the laser cutter, and I'm crossing absolutely every single possible extremity to make sure that this machine works. And thankfully it does. If it didn't, I don't know what the hell I would do, because I was running out of time. I needed this project to work. The worst part being is I booked it so close to when I needed to fly that when it didn't work, I literally had to rebook after. One of the most satisfying parts of this project was after I laser cut the pieces, I poke out all the little bits that need to be poked out to make my mesh. Now, I did this technique and I started it back in university, and I did a lot of projects with it, so I'm used to it now, but it still continues to be one of my favorite things to do. And I hope that you enjoy watching me do that as well. So when I went to cut cut. I made some mistakes in the print and some stuff didn't fully cut out, so I'm just gonna use my scalpel and cut those out. And with that, I began gluing up the pieces, and it was very simple, very easy. Just stick them together, find the right pieces, and I still messed that up because I didn't put the pieces in the right order. But it's fine, it still looks good. The shit I come up with, I swear to God. So 2 clamps holding them down together, 2 weights, and then a singular weight to make sure it's all nice and even. And I'm adding glue to reinforce the bits. Now I'm gonna mention it a few times. This project was very bootleg. It was a lot of trial and error. And so by this point, I realized I needed to make a base, and I didn't cut out a base in the laser cutter, nor was I about to pay for another hour rate or day rate. I'm cheap as shit, okay? So I just found random MDF that I had in my room. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I have a stack of it, and I decided to cut my own base out. And I didn't have a full big enough piece, so I had to do a lot of really tiny bits and bobs, but it worked out in the end, so it's all good. Although I will say, using an X-Acto knife to cut out MDF this many times and this precisely, ripped my wrist, ripped my fingers, and just rip everything because it sucked. And I would not recommend this for anyone. It might have also possibly been the fact that my X-Acto knife was quite blunt, and I also don't want to replace the knife just yet because it's just the tip that's blunt. I'm gonna wrap this in cling film so that when I glue it, this doesn't get glued on because I need this for a separate painting version. She is officially cling filmed and ready to go. So here are all my pieces. So I glued that bad baby up with some wood glue, and then I went to dremeling out my divots for the lights. I didn't get a lot of footage of this because I got yelled at by my mum for how loud it was and how dusty it was, so I just decided I'm gonna do this very quickly to avoid any of the hassle. The divots for the lights were because I need the lights to sit indented into the wood so that it doesn't press up into the top ornamental frame that I did that you saw earlier on. Now this was the original plan, and that's why I did all of this extra work, but you're gonna find out later on this was in vain. I did not need to do this, but I did, because again, I always like to go for the easier route, and then I end up doing more work because that's just who I am. I can't help it. Let's see how this goes. I'm gonna use the hot glue gun to glue down my lights, so just like this. I only have this one stick in here. I'm hoping that's enough. As per usual, a mistake has been made. It's small, but as you can see here, I've put the light right in the middle. The middle is where the hole is supposed to be to attach this all to a stick. And I forgot about that, so I'm gonna have to reroute this, and instead of getting the machine out again, I'm really not bothered for that mess and hassle. I'm just gonna get a lino cutting tool to do the job. I also need to do a few bits to make it sit nicely, so we're gonna do that. Time to do the tester. I've put the 2 layers on top, and that's what it looks like. Now, I had initially thought that this was going to extend quite a lot and be a lot more visible, but I realized that it's not. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to do another layer going around like that, so it's a bit more even in its distribution. Okay, in an attempt to diffuse these lights better, I'm going to try to spray paint the base where all the lights are with some silver metallic paint. Just this one. Let's see how it works. I don't know if it's going to work, but it is. We're gonna try. The other thing I did was I covered all the LEDs with some tape so that I don't cover them up. I'm just gonna open up some new supplies to try this out. I got some frosted window vinyl, which I'm gonna use to diffuse the light. Got some LED lights and some aluminium tape. So let's hope this works. So my explanation for this was total arse, so I'm gonna come in and save my past self from this embarrassment. So what I'm trying to explain here is that I'm gonna make a box light because I need more elevation for the lights to diffuse. To do this, I'm gonna be using these little wooden things that I've stuck together as placements on every edge of the star. The thickness of that wood is thick enough to allow the strip lights to be stuck on them without affecting the top and the bottom layer. Now, I'm going to stick them down, stick on the strip lights, and then we'll move on to diffusing the light from there. Now, this is all experimentation. I'm not sure if it's going to work. I hope it does, because otherwise I don't know what to do with this anymore. I've glued everything down. I'm just going to wait for that to set. My technique for this is very stupid, but listen, it works, so I'm not going to complain, and neither should you, but let's just go with it. So I think that's a better view. As you can see, now I have each side tunneled so that when I put the hot glue will mold to those two plastic corners, and because it's hot, it will like compress down and flatten nicely. I'm just gonna pop some in the... So the reason I'm putting glues in the corner is because I need really sharp points so that I can get the silhouette of the star. Again, would have been much easier to use a laser cutter for this, so I did it with glue. And here I laid up the glue, waited for each layer to dry to build it up, and then I sliced it away with an X-Acto knife to get those really nice points. This is what I've done with the hot glue. I've made perfect corners. I need to work on that one, so just don't look at it. But I've made perfect corners so that when I do box everything up, it's nice and straight. Now, I actually did all of these lights for this project before, but I wanted to use them differently and it didn't work out the way I wanted it to, so I ended up sending them back. I sent them back a little too early because I literally reordered them again, so yeah. Anyway, these are the strip lights I got, so hopefully this will be better. Okay, on camera it's flickering, but it doesn't flicker in real life. But this is a much better system that I have curated. So it's gonna look really bad inside. So earlier on you saw me with the roll of vinyl to use onto windows. It's a little bit frosted to diffuse any light so that no one can see from the inside or outside. However, here I'm using it to diffuse the light from the box so that the LEDs are not so pinpoint. Because if I didn't put that diffusion, you can see every single LED bulb from the strip lights and from the fairy lights. So to avoid that, the frosted sheet allows it to diffuse from underneath once I put the ornamental piece on top. Now I'm just going to grab my knife and slice off the edges. Now here I'm just grabbing the aluminium tape and I'm wrapping all the edges to seal in all the light so that no light seeps through and ruins the diffusion effect. Because if I wasn't going to do that, it means that areas that are going to seep out means that the diffusion is not as effective. I saw this on a cosplayer's video. So thank you, cosplayer. I forgot who you are, but I watched a couple of videos, so thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so I keep making really big pauses on this project. Today is the 28th of October. I started this project before June. We have made a lot of progress with lighting aspect of this piece, but when I was doing a lot of the troubleshooting and sort of trying to understand what was wrong and how to fix it, I made a little more problems for myself in this section than I needed to. But anyway, we learn, we move on, and we deal with it. So the problem that I'm dealing with right now is I spray painted the back silver so that it could reflect as much light as possible and it didn't just absorb into the wood. But I have really tiny sections where the silver came through to the front. My original idea was to probably leave it this color, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I am going to stain it like a darker brown because I really did like the brown that I did on the other star. To do that and to get a nice even stain, I'm gonna have to sand down all those silver bits. I'm gonna use a very fine grit, so 120. But yeah, I'll come back to you guys once I've done that, so... yeah, this is gonna be a walk in the park. I think it's just gonna be long. This would be an amazing moment to have like a proper machine for this, but I don't, so I'm gonna have to do this manually, so bye. I've done another layer on the edges to try start up a gradient. I like it so far, but I want the edges to be darker. This is a bit of India ink diluted with water, and I am just spreading it out enough so that I keep making a nice gradient. That looks about right. So my genius self forgot to film this with audio, so I'm just gonna have to pretend like I know what the hell I'm talking about here. But yeah, here's Cyrus trying to help me out with my project, I guess. But at this point I did about 6 to 7 layers of the India ink, gradually getting to the edges of the star. I didn't intend for this originally, but I thought it would look way better because it was going to be mainly the glowing aspect that was the main thing. So I wanted it to be interesting even when it wasn't glowing. So that's why I went for that. And here I'm just sealing everything with some acrylic top coat. That is matte, just because again I wanted to keep the wooden effect as much as possible, and glossy just wasn't in my realm of what I wanted, so I kept it matte. So I'm officially at the stage where I need to stick this top decorative layer onto the lightbox frame. One thing I didn't really think about when I was making this was everything underneath is silver, but the lights are warm toned, and then also the wood that I'm using is also quite warm, and so when I put it on top, silverness kind of takes away from the warmth of it all, and I want it to feel like a bright star. What I'm thinking I'm going to do instead is I'm going to use this paint. It's a gold acrylic paint, and I'm going to use a sponge to lightly dab gradient into the center so that I don't make the whole thing opaquely gold. Hopefully that works. I am going to use a sponge because I know this paint is quite sheer, so I need to sort of plop it down. But let's see how this goes, because I might just have to wipe everything off if it's a disaster. I don't know how to approach this. I'm nervous. Just go with some there. I put a lot at once, I think. Better than anticipated. Let's check the status of glue, shall we? Oh, that's even nicer actually. And here is the star after the second layer of gold. The gold looks much better. It hides a lot nicer with the wood tone. And with the light, it looks even better because the warmth from the edges. I'm very happy that I found that gold paint. My savior. I'm genuinely petrified of doing this step because now I have to officially stick down the ornamental piece on top of the lightbox piece, and I am very scared. I am just going to be using Gorilla Wood glue again. Let's just pray this works. Why is it not coming out? Is it coming out? Oh, okay. Not waste time and... Давай, зірочка. Ой, тю, в яку сторону? Почекай. Це треба покласти конкретно. Ой, вже поклала. Ну, все, давай. Настя, все, воно вже так і має бути. The next step is, well, I'm just going to put heavy things. This is relatively heavy, so like this is heavy, this is also heavy. I'll be back when this dries. Trying to set up my camera and I get a fucking giant in my room. Get out. Go. Oh my god. With this badass. I'm gonna be shooting from this angle because, well, this is the only way for me to get this done well. And this dog, I swear to god, I wish you could see this POV of him, because why is he so... No! You are so cheeky. Do you know that? Okay, Cyrus, I actually do need, like, I do need the space, dude, okay? I know you're upsetty spaghetti, but come on. The plan, Cyrusino, is to cover this in... What's this called? In what? It's not wire. It's ribbon. In ribbon. So the plan is, I'm gonna Mod Podge this, and also you can see the full POV of my messy desk when I do a project, so that's fun. We are here, but now what? Is this glue just not like strong enough? Is that the problem? No, that's not. Okay. That's not working either. Why is this side not holding? Okay, so I might have to...
You have failed miserably.
So, I'm coming back with my Uhu power, although usually I just would use the regular Uhu. I don't have a lot of this left, so I'm hoping it's enough to do the whole perimeter of this. This glue was absolute quality. I stuck down a good layer on the top and the bottom, put down the ribbon, held it in place for maybe a minute or two, and then it stuck on perfectly and I could move on to the next side. My only problem was my base that I made was not quite even compared to the ornamental layer, which was perfectly cut out by a laser cutter. So I had some areas that were sticking out. I already covered everything in foil, so it was not possible for me to sand that down. So my tiny little guy is running out. So I've come with reinforcements. Mama is in. Okay, so we're at the stage where I flipped it around now. This is the back side, and I have all this excess fabric on the edges, which need to go somewhere. So my plan is to start cutting them so I can stick them down nice and flat, and I'll have this back to deal with in a second. And here I am at this angle again, but now I'm gonna paint the back gold with the same paint that I did the frosted inside with. Let's go and do that. I'm gonna do a couple layers probably just to make sure that everything's nice and covered and coated. I have officially gone outside and found another stick because the sticks that I had collected were too bent. So I am now walking with a stick. So for you to understand, oh, okay. You need to move, dude. You need to move. So, yeah. For you to understand why these sticks are very bent. Dude, I need to show them the sticks. Move. Okay. So, as you can see, that stick's quite good, but that stick is far too thick for the project. And that stick's giving bow and arrow. So, it's not really a good pick. I'm on my balcony with my new stick. And I'm just going to start peeling off all of the bark so that I can sand it down properly and get it ready. I wish I was doing this in the summer like I did with my last one. This was much easier when my sticks were dry, but since it is the rainy season, I'm on a time crunch. I can't procrastinate really any further. This needs to be finished. Okay, I think anyway, the stick is like way too long, so I'm gonna have to cut it. So we have done the dry fit for the glowing star. Just ignore this background as well. I'm working on a lot of things at the same time and I gotta leave very soon, so sorry. Anyway, one of the problems that I was facing is the battery pack gonna fit on the back. Motherfuckers, it did fit on the back. And you can't see. The star is officially on top. As you can see, there's a lot of troubleshooting to do. She spins, which is important. What needs to be fixed? Number one, I need to paint the bolt. The bolt cannot be silver. It doesn't match the aesthetic. Second thing, on the back of the star, we need to stick down the battery packs. The second problem being the star has a lot of space from the space it requires for the battery pack so that it could spin. So I need to put something there that will keep the distance away from the stick and from the star. So we'll sort that out in a bit as well. The other obvious thing being that the stick needs to be stained and varnished and dealt with. And the other thing being as well that I need to cut the top off as well. It's too long. I don't want it poking out from any point when the star twists and spins. So you guys can get an idea of what she is supposed to look like, because I don't think I've actually tested the lighting for you guys. There she is. Our twinkling, gleaming star. I'm very proud of her, okay? She's so pretty, oh my god. Oh, and there's obviously gonna be ribbon at the back as well, like any other traditional, beautiful Ukrainian Christmas star. So here I've just filled in all the holes and cracks in the stick, which is actually quite a few. I am back again on this godforsaken balcony and we're gonna be varnishing this stick. The last time was much nicer because it was much warmer, but this is probably gonna dry for a lot longer because it is colder and let's pray it ain't gonna rain. When you hear me speaking during this section with the stick, I was genuinely just exhausted. Like, I was having to deal with sanding it down, which took hours, by the way, cutting it, coloring it, gluing it, and I was just so over that process by that point, so I was done. But once we got it varnished, everything was coming together and it looked great. I've gotten some MDF pieces and I've cut them. I measured that I needed 2.9 centimeters to cover the distance. The star of the battery pack to the stick, basically. So this should be enough, maybe even a little bit overkill. So I tried to saw it off, it didn't work. I'm resorting to a chisel and hammer. And it's coming off of it like a cake that I used to eat in my childhood. And you're just gonna keep finding me on this floor talking to you. But I'm trying to figure out what color ribbons I want for the glowing star. So let's take a look together. There's a lot going on behind because, again, many projects going on at once. But I'm thinking that the gold, the lilac and the blue look good. I want to keep the tone muted, unlike the other star. The other star is like vibrant reds, greens, yellows. But this, I want the main thing to be the light. So I'm going for subtler ribbons, pastels. And I think it's time to try assemble the piece together. I had a dream that this star like fell apart into segments because the front panel is made out of 8 segments. And I had a dream that it just went all bent and just went, and I spent the entire dream just shitting myself, thinking like, how do I fix this? And now I get to just put it together and realize that my piece is not all messed up. Because the other day I was worried about the lights inside and I'm like, if something goes wrong with the lights, how do I even fix that? And in the dream, clearly, my brain had thought about the fact that I thought about that, because then when it cracked, I could see the entire intersection like a sliced pizza. And I was like, oh my God, the lights are fine. But then I still had to try fix it, which I didn't do in the dream, because obviously that was a little too much for my brain to comprehend in the moment. I made the same mistake I did in the last piece. I tied it to the stick. I knew this was going to happen and I still did it, but I was just trying to be lazy. So here I go doing the wire method again. Oof, this project was definitely a struggle. As much as it hurt me to make this one, she did turn out to be my favorite. And she did turn out to be, I think, the most impactful. Definitely in the photos and definitely in the videos. I think they're both gorgeous, equally so. But this one just has an energy that I can't explain it. So enough babbling. Let's actually see the final results and let's see what you guys think. So let's go. Thank you so much for sticking around and hopefully watching the whole video. I know it was very long and there was a lot of processes to look through. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, a comment. Definitely click the notification bell so you know when I upload next. Also share this video with your friends and family. You can also find me on my TikTok and Instagram. My TikTok is art and my Instagram is art. Again, I upload quite a few things on there, definitely daily progress videos and pictures. So if you want to follow along for the projects in real time of what I'm doing, that's the place to find me. These projects are very, very long and extend over a lot of months, if not years. So it's a lot harder for me to get these long form videos out, but do stick around there if you want to see. And thank you so much, guys. See you in the next video.